Many will not understand it, but you have to raise warriors, not parasites. Just one more time. This really is Chachma B'Goyim time. One more time. Let's really appreciate this. His reply was, it's so funny. Afterwards, people are like, Rabbi, can you send it to me? I'm like, there was a Nasiv Shalom, there was a Rambam, there was everything else too, right? I can send you. No. I don't know how much memory I have in my phone. Just send me the. All right. His reply was, shouldn't be laughing so much. Okay. Hard times create strong men. So hard times, difficult times. When somebody's poor, when somebody's hungry, when somebody's gotten, just strong men, that's it. Hard time, that's it. We got to survive. We got to be warriors. We're going to fight our way through this. Then strong men, then the guy who fought so much to that's it. My parents grew up in a tiny little apartment someplace out over in the valley. I one day will become successful and own a house in Beverlywood. Right? That's it. I'm pushing and fighting. Beverly Hills. Okay, not even out Beverlywood now. So that's it. We're going to go. Turning time. Sorry, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But you're going to go out and I'm going to become. So strong men create easy times. I'm going to provide for my family so much better. I'm going to do so much more for them. And that's good. It's a positive thing. Easy times create weak men. Have you ever seen a baller father who's like, by the way, that guy owns everything. He owns just every building, everything else. He had 15 stores. And his kids walk in, and you're like, what are those? So those are his kids. And they're not. They're just not the dad. They're just not the dad. They're just like, the guy's 15, he still doesn't know how to tie his shoes. It's just like, what is that? Because strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Because now that they had everything handed to them, so much of it. Warren Buffett, very famous, we all know this, still lived in his tiny little ranch house. He didn't want to go and to spoil the kids. You know, there's some incredibly rich people that at least I know from the East Coast, and I think from over here as well, there are many that you can find, that although they have the ability to go and to spoil, they hold back because they are afraid of this concept. Because easy times create weak men. And then weak men create difficult times. You give a look at the whole political scene today and you can see that. I don't know too many senators, I don't know too many people, too many congressmen that have gone to war and fought for America. Have done these different things. Like that they themselves were tough. Rather, they were people who are handed stuff, and now weak men create difficult times. Many will not understand it, but you have to raise warriors, not parasites. So, and add to that the historical reality that all great empires, the Persians, the Trojans, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, and in later years the British, all rose and perished within 250 years. They were not conquered by external enemies, they rotted from within. And the Sheikh ended off, and I'm not this guy, but I'm going to end off just, America is nearing its 250-year mark. This is a very interesting thing, very, very interesting. The rot is starting to show and it's accelerating, he said. We're past the Mercedes and Land Rovers, and the camels are on the horizon. This was the end of it. The months that we are Rosh, the months that we're impoverished, those are just hard times. What does hard times produce? Great men. You want to know why specifically in these months Hashem said change yourself? Why Hashem said you dial into these 100 days, this is when you can change? Because Hashem said these are your hard times. And hard times demands greatness from us. In the easy times, yeah, here we go about our everyday. But when it comes to the hard times, we have to really look down deep, and this is what the Rambam meant. When the Rambam said, when you have hard times, Yesh sham yamim v'radei shekol yisrael mit'anim bahem mipnei hatzarot. Why do we fast, guys? Because of the hard times. Because of the times that made us into great people. Shi'aru behem kidei le'orer halivavot. So that we take into our hearts the hard times. V'liftoach darkei teshuvah, and to let us know those hard times demanded greatness of us to return to God and see reality for what it is. And so therefore in these hard times, you don't close the shutters. Great men don't just turn and hide and find the closest corner and wait out the storm. They run headlong into battle because they say, I will stand my ground and I will find greatness inside it. The Chafetz Chaim once said about hard times, he said, it's an amazing thing about hard times. He said, you can have somebody who's in the army, and he can be in the army for 30 years and never really go up in ranks. Still just be a private, a general, a lieutenant. Because they didn't go into war. There was nothing bad happening, so this is what you are. He said, but you can have somebody else who's in the army for only 3 months. But if they're at war, and he's proving himself, and he's really digging down deep to find just storehouses of energy he didn't know he had, and he's spitting blood, and he's showing leadership, and he's pushing himself. They're going to go and bring him from one thing, up from general, up to lieutenant, up to commander, up to just going up the ranks, and this guy can jump in 3 months in ranks what other people in times of peace, in times of weakness could not. So it's these 2 months, my friends, in the times of Rosh, in the times that we're impoverished, in the times that we're hungry, in those difficult times that you didn't know how to look deep into themselves and say, I have to demand of myself more. I have to demand of myself greatness. It kills me that the first time we talk about Bein Adam Lechavero is when Tisha B'Av rolls around. It's on Tisha B'Av. That's when it comes. On Tisha B'Av, that's when all the videos come out, and that's it. We have to love each other and say, fantastic. So what did we do? For one day, and maybe not even for a few hours within the day, we had a shemetz, we had a spark inside our mind that said, maybe I should work on myself tonight. And then that's it. And then you go, you break your fast, and you're Victor Von Dunsky. It's done. Hashem was like, no. It starts from Tammuz. 100 days. It starts from now to really go and delve into ourselves. And in Shemayim, they're going to help you. In Shemayim, they're going to see. So Rabotai, finishing off this thought for tonight. We're in 2 of the most auspicious months because they were given over to the bad guy to cause us an awakening of difficult times. So that within these difficult times, great men stand up and take their place next to God, the place that was always planned for us. And to look and to say, I could easily just go retreat back into my hole and not take on the identity that I'm meant to be finding within myself, and just to be like the rest of the world, and to just try and fit in. But guess what? In these months now, it's been leading up to it. The world doesn't want you to fit in. The world is not interested in you being like them. We have anti-Semitism on the rise, and that's just letting us know you don't have a hole to go crawl into anymore. You got to stand up and fight. Fight for your own identity. Fight for your own passion. Fight for what you believe is completely and absolutely true. And if you don't believe it's true, don't you think it's about darn time you figure it out if it is? Don't you think that it's about time the emunah was crystal clear to you? So yeah, these are the months. You go online, you go to Esha Torah, you go to their discovery programs, you see their evidence, and you see that this Torah could not have been given by anything but an infinite God. You'll see in this week's parashah. Do you know in Bilam's, in his supposed curse but blessing, he talks about Agag? You know about that? Agag isn't born for another 2 centuries. If it was written by human beings, how the heck would they know that there's going to be an Agag that's going to be torn apart by Shmuel? And yet the Torah went and called it out 2 centuries before it happened. No human being could have known that. And no human being would have written that if humans were trying to pass off this Torah as godly written, but really written by humans. They wouldn't make any kind of call that would eventually be called out to say it's false. And yet it's there. So it could not have been written by a human. It's written by the one who's above time, who knows that Agag is going to happen. It's right there in this week's parashah. There are hundreds of these evidence, and it has to be that there's a God. And if it has to be that there's a God who gave us the Torah, isn't it time that we got a clarity inside what our purpose is? And isn't it time to stop fighting over the scraps that society's throwing us, to beg them to have us belong to their small-mindedness and instead take our rightful place as giants walking amongst a society that's so much smaller than an infinite God's Torah? It's these months. These are the months you can do that. It's these months. It's the desperate. It's the times that right now are being handed to us as a gift. These difficult times, Rabotai, let's together become great men. Have a great night.
What type of prayer I read right now? But